No longer have a description of the traditional student. We know in nursing programs there can be first generation students, there can be second career students, and there can also be students that have learning challenges or learning disabilities. How do we cope? How do we adapt? How do we pivot to ensure that all of our learners in the classroom are creating the type of learning experiences that they need? How do we partner with them to help them through that? There are several mistakes that we are covering in this series to make sure that you, as the educator, can show up as your very best self to not only support student success, but to also make sure that you feel valued and appreciated for the value that you're bringing into the classroom experience. Welcome back, everybody, to Dr. Sellers Educate. We're excited that you're back. If this is the first time you're joining us, make sure you go ahead and print out your study worksheet that is listed right here in the description. The study worksheet is going to help you stay focused as you move forward with us on your journey to nurse educator excellence. If you are not on the journey to C&E, that's okay, because our goal is that everyone that joins us will take away important information that is going to help them become a better nurse, a better nurse educator, a better clinician. There may even be some other colleagues that are not even in nursing watching us. So whatever your path is, just make sure as you're thinking about what your next steps are going to be, that you identify an objective. Okay, so that's what we want you to write down on your study worksheet. What takeaway do you want to walk away with today? What specific concept is it that you want to be able to focus on to help you on your nurse educator excellence journey? All right, so first, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a few housekeeping tips that I want to make sure that you have taken care of before we jump in. So first and foremost, I want you to go ahead and pull out Billings and Halstead. Okay, had to take the blur off the background. I like showing you all the background. I think that sometimes we can blur the background if we're virtual, because that allows the audience to focus on us. But then sometimes research also tells us when you have a natural background that it also increases engagement. Okay, so we're going to have a natural background for our time together during our conversation today. All right, so second of all, you're pulling out Billings and Halstead. I want you to flag pages 188 through 190. We are going to tap into that affective learning domain, which I know we don't talk about a lot, but that will be a core element that we will talk about today. All right, so if you haven't already, we want you to also consider signing up for our Blueprint for Success. This is a free 1 hour workshop that is going to help you increase your knowledge level about what path you need to take to achieve your C&E. Okay, so we are truly talking about just the C&E, helping you develop your specific goals that are going to take you one step closer as you move forward on your journey to C&E. So welcome back, everybody. You have now in front of you Billings and Halstead. You also have the study worksheet, and you have flag pages 188 through 190 in the 6th edition of Teaching and Nursing. Now, if you have the 7th edition, you can check out the crosswalk that is listed right here in the description as well to make sure that you have the specific page numbers that you need to focus on as we explore Billings and Halstead, specifically the affective learning domain. All right, so top 12 mistakes. Who can go ahead and put in the chat for me the number one mistake that we launched now 3 snapshots ago? Because this one we're covering mistake number 4. I know it's hard to believe that we're already at number 4. All right, so who can go ahead and put in the chat for me what mistake number 1 was? All right, so let's see if we have any colleagues, if you all are joining us live. If you typed not establishing clear goals, you are correct. Our ability to stay focused on our journey to nurse educator excellence in this new year starts with us writing down what is our goal. That's the number one mistake that colleagues make when we think about how we are derailed on our path towards success or with accomplishing our goals, right? We don't establish exactly what those goals are. All right, so what about mistake number 2? Now, we've numbered these, but it doesn't necessarily mean for your situation that it's number 1. Okay, so we're just sharing 12, and you can decide what your number 1 is and what your number 12 is. All right, so if you typed in overloading on responsibilities, you are correct. So sometimes we take on too many responsibilities. We have our goals, but then we get distracted. We say yes because we're kind, right? And we want to help our colleagues. So that is mistake number 2. taking on too many responsibilities. What about mistake number 3? Let's see if you all can put it in the chat. Ignoring classroom management strategies. So in the previous snapshot, we talked about some specific page numbers that can help guide you in avoiding this mistake. First and foremost is you want to be properly prepared, okay? Because when we have proper preparation, it sets us up for a better opportunity to create a learning environment where we want our students to feel supported, and we want to feel good about the content that we're reviewing with our students as well. Okay, so we want to be able to manage our classroom first and foremost by being prepared. That will equip us to use the appropriate strategies like we talked about previously. So if you don't recall, go back and watch the previous snapshot. It helps us make sure that we're using the right processes, following the right policy to ensure that our students have everything that they need as they explore the content that we are discussing in our classroom experiences. All right, so now we're ready for number 4. So now we're going to go and take a look at our presentation. And in our presentation content, we're going to cover a couple of things. First and foremost, we're going to take a look at, because I always forget this, we're going to take a look first at the actual workbook. Okay, so this is your ebook that you have access to. We are unfolding each of these mistakes one by one as we move forward on your journey. Okay, so failure to build relationships is mistake number 4. So neglecting to create those positive connections with our colleagues, with our students, can lead to poor communication and a less than collaborative environment that we know is so important. When we are engaging in the learning experiences with our students, we're not acting alone, right? We should have colleagues that are supporting us to ensure that we are creating quality learning experiences for our students. And then second of all, we want to partner with our students. Remember that learning is a partnership. It's not a one-way type of communication, right? We have to work together in a way that is going to help us achieve the learning objectives. There's a part that we have to play. There's a part that our students have to play. So taking the time to get to know our students using icebreaker activities, creating check-ins with our students, informal check-ins like what we do here at Dr. Sellers Educate. And then there's also an additional resource on our YouTube channel that can help you close your knowledge gaps and clarify any muddy points that you have. All right, so now we're going to take a look at our thought-provoking question. Dr. Jordan, a new faculty member, maintains strict professional boundaries and avoids personal conversations with students. Students describe the course as unapproachable, okay, on evaluations. So not only do they describe the faculty members unapproachable, but they feel like the content, the course overall is unapproachable. All right, so what is the most effective way for Jordan to build rapport while maintaining professionalism? All right, so let's see what our options are with Dr. Jordan. A is offer personal contact information for after-hour support. B is to share personal nursing experiences that align with course content. And C is maintain strict authority to maintain professional boundaries. All right, so go ahead and put your answer in the chat. All right, we'll go back to give you a minute to look at the response or the options, and then we'll see what your responses are. All right, so you can write it down on your study worksheet, and we're going to go back to our content as we explore what are some of these foundational elements that you want to consider when you are creating this collaborative, safe learning environment. First and foremost, remember that there's a transaction that happens, right? Students exchange their time, their money for a learning experience. We want to create more of a transformation. How do we do that? First of all, we've got to make sure that we are prepared from an academic standpoint and from an affective learning domain standpoint. It means that we have to ensure that we are creating relationships with our students, right? Meaningful relationships through individual interactions that help support student success and also creates a safe learning experience for our students. So we're building on our previous snapshot where we talked about what are some of those strategies to deal with difficult situations, which will happen because there are humans in our courses. So because of that, we know there's going to be tense situations. We know there's going to be disagreements, right? So we have to be able to manage those effectively. What do you see that's happening in this picture? Okay, as we explore the affective domain in learning. All right, so just jot down some of your observations of the learning that's happening. What are those interactions like? All right, so these are, I'll play it again. These are students, and you can see the instructor is there standing. So what are some interactions that are happening? How is learning being supported by this faculty member? Think about how this faculty member is tapping into that affective domain. We know that emotions can influence attention, memory, and cognitive processes. Okay, so thinking about brain-based learning, how do we create new pathways for learning? Well, that's through engaging with our adult learners in a way that creates that positive and supportive learning environment. This is crucial as we create a safe space and a brave space for our learners. We as nurse educators want to incorporate these elements through humor that's appropriate, right? Real world examples. So these are unfolding case studies, right? These are experiences that we are talking about with our students. We're leveraging their clinical experiences to allow for that social interaction, which we know is so critical in nursing. And it's in healthcare, right? Because our nursing students have to be able to work well with others. When we support engagement in the learning process, we are also stimulating the release of those neurotransmitters, right? Associated with brain-based learning, associated with the release of dopamine. This is what enhances learning and, listen to this part, retention. Our number one goal in our classroom or our didactic experiences is that students are able to retain information that allows them to apply and analyze and develop those key clinical judgment skills and critical thinking skills in the skills lab, in the actual simulation experiences, and in the clinical experiences. Bloom's taxonomy, hopefully this looks familiar to you. We like this Vanderbilt model because it's so inclusive of all the elements that you will need to know on the CNE exam. So first and foremost, you want to know what is that definition, okay, of the 6 levels of the Bloom's taxonomy. So as an example, remembering the definition is to recall facts and basic concepts. Second of all, what are those verbs associated with that level? And third, what are the specific objectives that I'm mapping to that level, the actual teaching strategies that I'm mapping to that level, and how I'm going to evaluate that learning has happened at that level. Again, pages 188 through 190 in Billings and Halstead. So what's your number? How are you feeling? This is the check-in, right? We always want to check in with our students when we're in the classroom. Our goal at Dr. Sellers Educate is to really role model these evidence-based practices that we're talking about, right? We want to make sure our video, our demonstration of these skills is matching our audio, the content that we are covering as part of our snapshots. All right, so 1, put it in the chat for me. You feel lost. Okay, again, focusing on that affective learning domain. How do we create safe and brave learning experiences for our students? What does that relationship look like? What's appropriate? What's not appropriate? And 5, you feel like you're ready to teach, right? That's our goal. We want to get you to that 5 level. That is going to help increase your likelihood for choosing the correct answer on the CNE exam. We are still at a 98 to 100% success rate. Some weeks we're about 97, but right now we're between that 98 and 100. All right, so you can always reach out to us, info at Dr. Sellers Educate, if you feel like you have some muddy points and you need a little bit of extra help along the way. We also have right here in the description a link that will take you to thought-provoking questions, okay? So in response to a lot of requests that we've received, there are thought-provoking questions with rationale that can help you increase your confidence and your competence when it comes to taking the exam, okay? Because we give you not only the answer, but also we tell you the rationale for the correct answer. All right, so if you chose B, share personal nursing experiences that align with course content, you are correct. Okay, so give yourself a round of applause if you chose B. The reason why this is the correct answer, which is the most important part, right, for these thought-provoking questions, sharing relevant experiences builds trust and supports learning without breaching professional boundaries. We want to leverage our nursing experiences that we have had. Sometimes we have to remind students, I am a nurse, right? And I've been in your seat. I've been in nursing school before, and I know how challenging it can be, right? It's still challenging. It was challenging when we went to nursing school. It's still challenging today. All right, the reason why A is not correct is because we don't want to share personal contact information because it can blur professional lines. And then C is too bit of an extreme, right? Because a completely authoritative approach can feel distant and hinder that learning connection, which we don't want to do, right? We want to support the learning experiences with our students by building on that trusting relationship, right, that we initially have when students first walk in the door. So we just want to maintain it. If you need more questions, right, more practice, this is where you can go to those 20 thought-provoking questions with the rationale. We want you to take some time to pause, reflect, and then we want you to act, right? We want you to spend some time thinking about, yes, where are your knowledge gaps, but most importantly, what are your next steps going to be to ensure, oh, my number 4 is still showing, to ensure that you are honing in on those really important skills that are going to help you close your knowledge gap and ensure that you are on the path towards CNE success. Reach out to us if you have further questions, info@drsellerseducate.com. We look forward to seeing you in our upcoming webinar, hopefully in our spring series that's going on right now. We also have our refresher workshop that's coming up, as well as other activities. Okay, but if there's an activity or program that you don't see that you feel like would be helpful, let us know that too. We're always gathering feedback to hear from our colleagues about what is needed to help them move forward towards nurse educator excellence. We look forward to seeing you in our next snapshot.